For years, Kirk Frost and Rasheeda have been the power couple of love and hip-hop Atlanta, but now they're calling it quits. Believe me, this isn't merely something huge occurred behind the scenes, and fans are in full astonishment. Insiders are speculating about a massive betrayal. The producers are feverishly attempting to control the damage. But here's the real kicker. Individuals close to the couple are releasing information about explosive fights, a sensational ultimatum, and a surprising discovery that led them to leave. So what actually occurred, and why would Kirk and Rasheeda give away everything they had constructed on reality TV? And most importantly, this is the concluding chapter of their love story, which has more turns than you could ever dream. By the conclusion, you may never look at Kirk and Rasheeda the same way again. It all started with Whisper's quiet, hardly noticed behavior. Fans caught up on the love and hip-hop community's intuition that something was awry since the pair hadn't been seen together in public for weeks. Then, an insider released bombshell information online, alleging that Kirk and Rasheeda were done with the program. They weren't simply taking a vacation or stepping gone for a season, but they were done for forever. The news went viral, and just as viewers were attempting to understand what it meant, a blockbuster show called Revelation revealed, which shocked the whole reality TV business. Despite the problems, Kirk and Rasheeda had always maintained a unified face. On a tragic night at a private gathering held by VH1 executives, the cameras were not running, but the drama that ensued was more weird than anything seen on TV. Kirk had been drinking. The tension was already high, and then came the encounter that altered everything. "I'm not sure what you've been doing behind my back." Rasheeda's voice was icy. Betrayals and the drama that made them fall in love with hip-hop royalty, but something so enormous because it damaged their faith in the show, in each other, and in all they had constructed. The entire audience went quiet as she pulled out her phone, the screen a few times, and then flipped it around. A video of gas aired, and some people even covered their mouths in amazement. Kirk's face became pale. "As I warned you." Rasheeda whispered, her voice dangerously low, and Kirk chuckled, one of those anxious, forced chuckles that immediately informed everyone in the room that he was caught. What was he talking about? He whispered, attempting to play it off. Kirk fumbled, grabbing for Rasheeda's arm, but she drew away. "Don't touch me," she yelled, her voice trembling. No one knew for sure what was on the film, but the reactions underlined that it was horrible. Some believe it was evidence of Kirk coming too near. To the mystery lady, someone linked to the show says it was a transaction gone bad. Anything involving money, contracts, treachery, or Rasheeda refused to shoot, ignored producer calls, banned Kirk's phone number, and even starting talking to attorneys. News rapidly circulated that Rasheeda was done. But here's what no one expected coming. Kirk fought back, and not just with words. He began making calls to set up meetings with key executives. "I should have left you years ago," but producers stepped in to try to temper the circumstance, but it was too late this time. Yet things had gone the other way since the network was done with him. A few days later, a secret document led to a story from behind the scenes that stated Kirk had been creating issues for NK. Storylines, refusing to obey contracts, and even getting into hot disputes with producers had piled up, and the higher-ups were wary of the drama. Promised to divulge secrets about the program if they didn't stand with him. In an effort to defend himself, he was faced with something unexpected, a note termination that said, "You're out." A source close to production revealed that the network had taken the choice. Love and hip-hop was continuing on without them. Kirk and Rasheeda, the power couple of reality TV, were officially gone. But the drama was just starting. Days after the split, there were reports that Rasheeda was already plotting her next move, one that would absolutely surprise Kirk. According to those acquainted with the situation, Rasheeda was fed up with sharing the spotlight with her spouse and wanted something fresh, independent, and completely on her own terms. Guess what? Offers were already flowing in at a high level. An executive who requested anonymity said that Rasheeda is a star in her own right and does not require Kirk to carry a program big networks are interested in working with her. But Kirk wasn't going down without a struggle. He lost it when he found of Rasheeda's covered meetings, She couldn't simply abandon him. Kirk was apparently over her, telling a close friend, "I built this with her, and she isn't going to leave me in the dust." But Rasheeda didn't care anymore. For years, she had been the forgiving wife who stood with Kirk no matter what, cleaned up his trash, and most importantly, she stopped allowing Kirk to govern her career. She planned one final move, but Kirk never saw it. Kirk was in full panic mode since losing Rasheeda nightmare for him. He had always imagined that no matter what, she would never completely abandon him. But this time was different. Rasha had cut him off, fully refusing to take his calls, refusing to come home, and making major movements about him. Rumors were circulating in the business that executives were, according to a close source, Rasha was really contemplating giving Rasheeda her reality program, but Kirk was not ready for it. In private, producers are enthused about the premise of the program, which concentrates around her life as a businesswoman, mother, and music tycoon. Sans the Kirk's baggage couldn't take it, and as soon as he discovered Rasheeda was actually moving on, he went into damage control mode and started pressing his own. In an effort to twist the tale in his advantage, Kirk screamed in a private chat that was ultimately posted online, stating that these executives were manipulating her like the evil guy. "I've backed her since day one, and now she's behaving like I don't exist." But no one believed it, even the fans or industry experts. And just when Kirk felt things couldn't get much worse, Rasha had just done something unexpected late one. She posted a mystery Instagram story with the simple remark, "You can only disrespect me so many times before I walk away for good," written in white characters on a black backdrop. That was all it needed to throw the internet into a frenzy. Story images went viral, and Kirk was enraged. He sought to fix the damage immediately after, appearing live on Instagram a few hours later to clarify error. "I don't know why people always want to leap to conclusions. Rasheeda and I have gone through everything together," he added, shaking his head. "We've got your back, queen. You deserve better. It's time you left that guy that Tom was on just now." But as he was saying it, the comment section was on fire. Kirk stared. He was terrified when he saw her name appear. But then Rasheeda herself entered the live stream for a little while. "Okay, Rasheeda's in here," he said. But she didn't utter a thing, didn't compose a comment, didn't join the live, and didn't recognize him at all. Instead, she posted another message on her Instagram a few minutes later. Later stating anything that didn't need to be, she stated dying that the truth always gets out, and then suddenly stopped his connection. Kirk recognized. Felt he had lost control of the issue when the network executives ceased calling him, his phones remained unanswered, and the producers had Love and Hip Hop officially deleted Kirk and Rasheeda's names from the promotional materials, and many who had previously supported him ceased speaking with him. Materials for the following season, it became clear that they weren't just taking a vacation or moving away from the program. Completely away from the public spotlight, Kirk lost it at that moment since he was done being nice if the show ended with him. He then made a desperate move. According to sources who worked with the producers, this would escalate the issue into a full-fledged conflict, threatening ex-boyfriends, emailing bloggers suggesting that he had genuine information about the program that could damage careers, ruin reputations, and bring down the whole franchise. Even weirder, he wasn't bluffing behind the scenes, leaving many stunned. And just when everyone believed the drama couldn't get more, Rasheeda took her most ambitious move to yet, one that would absolutely stun Kirk, by announcing her own reality program. The real kicker is that the first episode would be about her getting away from Kirk Frost, and Kirk first didn't believe it since he thought it was a hearsay and imagined that Rasheeda didn't really follow through. "I devoted my entire life to someone who didn't deserve me," she added, "but now it's my turn." The screen then went to footage showing Kirk's previous scandals, relationships, betrayals, and all Rasheeda had gone through over the years. The last scene showed Rasheeda pulling off her clothing. Kirk knew that this wasn't just some gossip blog supposition. It was genuine, and the whole world was about to witness his demise play out on video as he reigned and left. The internet went crazy with fans declaring that this was the reality show they wanted Kirk on. The other hand was sliding because if he thought losing love in hip-hop was horrible, this was going to be so much worse. Kirk understood that he was losing control. He had been responsible for his marriage, love, and hip-hop for years, surviving controversy after scandal, altering the narrative, and always finding a way victory. But this time he was losing swiftly, and the anger wasn't only from fans. This is Rasheeda's redemption narrative, and Rasha had played her cards as well. Well, portraying herself as the powerful independent woman breaking free, while Kirk looked to be the bitter washed-up villain aiming to drag her down. The worst thing was that it was working, as the media had joined together to back her, with many congratulating her for reclaiming control of her feminine life. Fans cheered her on, calling her an inspiration, and even celebrities showed her affection. The more he saw the internet turn against him, the angrier. Rasheeda had placed him in a no-win scenario where if he kept mute, he would seem weak, and if he clapped back, he would appear even worse. But Kirk Frost had never been the kind to admit defeat, so he fought back the emotions as he sat in his office reading through social media late one night. Kirk was enraged and lost control. He had been playing games for years and now karma was striking him. He had spent years developing an image of himself as the businessman, power broker, and head of the Frost Empire, and suddenly it was all crumbling apart. But Kirk still had one weapon left, his own receipts if Rasheeda sought to represent herself as the strong, independent woman in and breaking free. He had showed the public a different side of the story, one in which she wasn't the victim and one in which she wasn't so innocent. So V began leaking information. He phoned a few industry bloggers, the same ones who had always covered his and Rasheeda's connection, the ones who originally relished a delicious story, were not biting the streets lover Rasheeda presently, according to one blogger. But then Kirk delivered the bombshell, claiming that he believes she merely quit love and hip-hop on her own that got their interest, and he sent exclusive information, whispered tales, and distorted realities. VH1 was done with her because she was making too many demands and becoming too pricey, and they wanted fresher faces, but she didn't resign. Instead, she was forced out, and headlines started to surface. The atmosphere was dramatic, and Kirk felt like he was back in control, but then Rasheeda replied rashly against EA's final move. The next morning, Rasheeda posted on Instagram looking calm, confident, and indifferent as she sat in her home office well made up drinking tea, and then she started chatting. "I see Kirk out here trying to twist the story," murmured, shaking her head. "I saw him attempting to make it appear like I was driven off love and hyper, like I wasn't the one who went away. She grinned but left me be. Apparently I left it on my own." When she obtained the real invoices, Rasheeda didn't stop there. She brought up all of Kirk's dirty acts throughout the years, including cheated, lied, attempted to manipulate her, and utilized her name, brand, and success to remain relevant. If you're wondering why she leaned closer to the camera, then dropped the documents, pictures, and emails revealing that she denied a multi-million-dollar raw renewal offer because she was weary of the internet went bananas when she disclosed the ultimate bombshell. She wasn't only quitting love and hip-hop, but she was also beginning her own reality program. Solo endeavor with no Kirk and no turmoil, just her brand and her empire, and networks were fighting for it. For the first time in years, Kirk recognized that Rasheeda had outgrown him, and the world knew it. As a result, industry leaders started to separate themselves immediately. Kirk stopped taking his calls, and the network that had previously backed him covered for his mess was done with him, followed by the fan. When responses came in, he honestly felt he could portray Rasheeda or Kirk Frost as the villain in his own doom, with Rasheeda prevailing and Kirk ready to lose. Eva Sween's house, he had misjudged Rasheeda, assuming that she would break under the strain, that her success was somehow linked to her presence. But it became brutally evident that she had always been the stronger and more resilient one. Memories of their early years together flooded his head. They were partners before the celebrity, the cameras, and the never-ending turmoil. They actually worked together to create their business brick by brick. Kirk had always taken leadership and made choices for them both, but sometime along the road, that relationship evolved and Rasheeda had grown independent. and now she was leaving him behind in the dust. The betrayal was so great that he had supported her career, or so he told himself, but now that he was experiencing her flourish without him, Kirk questioned if he had ever really been in command. Rasheeda had always been shrewd, but in as she understood how to navigate the treacherous waters of the entertainment business in a delicate manner, taking advantage of every opportunity Kirk had given her. The headlines, but it was Rasheeda who had created her brand and image, and now she was reaping the advantages. Kirk had lost himself in the Kirk browsed through Instagram and came upon another commercial for Rasheeda's upcoming program Unbreakable. Fans admired her even more because she had a publicly sexy presence. His followers were decreasing by the hundreds, and his comment section was full of vitriol whenever he wrote anything. The industry essentially banned him, and no one wanted to handle the poisonous Kirk Frost brand anymore. Not even the media sites that had formerly backed his side of the story. The comments were full of love and support for her, complimenting her fortitude, resilience, then showed her looking bright and joyful while standing up with their children at her side. Kirk's phone rang, and it was his manager, person who had supported him through several crises, but this time the talk was different. Kirk's manager began to feel cautious. The network has opted to withdraw out of any future negotiations, and it's not looking good. Kirk tightened his teeth, but didn't say anything. The narrative was now turning backs, and he was no longer the headline-grabbing figure he once was. Instead, he had become the butt of the joke. The business changes swiftly. The narrative is it's all about Rasheeda now that the fans have spoken, and it's apparent where their loyalty lays. For the first time in his career, Kirk had no strategy, had always been able to negotiate his way out of a crisis and twist the story in his advantage. He knew Rasheeda's new show was going to be a huge smash, and now that all the sponsors are backing her, there's nothing left for us. Basically, whatever he did, Rasheeda had the upper hand since she had managed to distance herself from the poison, letting him to deal with the foe and the admirers they were screaming about in the realm of reality TV. Kiss of death, he glanced up from his phone and gazed blankly at the wall, his formerly wealthy lifestyle, celebrity, and power all dissolving because he had been so busy with himself that he hadn't expected it. Rasha had subtly developed her empire while he had burnt bridges in one scandal the first episode. Unbreakable was a big hit, pulling in millions of people. Rasheeda's dramatic and inspiring journey attracted fans, and it wasn't long before she reached the top of the town. As the days went, her program Unbreakable continued to gather pace. It was everywhere on billboards and advertising. Online, the audience was excited to witness a fresh side of her and watch her bloom without the turmoil that Kirk had so regularly brought into their life. For the first time, Kirk was not mentioned in any of the stories or interviews that centered on Rasheeda. Her success, her courage, and how she had survived the devastation he had created. The business had chosen that Rasheeda was the future and Kirk was the past. Kirk wasn't ready to give up yet, so he decided to approach Rasheeda one more time because he wanted to know how she had able to prepare everything he demonstrated. Up at her new production office, unexpectedly wanting to surprise her, Rasheeda was seated at her workstation studying scripts for the upcoming episode. When Unbreakable came, she glanced up in surprise to see him, but she instantly calmed herself. "Kirk," she asked in a calm but forceful voice, "what are?" He didn't spend time with niceties, and I'd want to hear how you did. She had changed the whole business. Rasheeda sat back in her chair and crossed her arms, adding, "I didn't turn anybody against you, Kirk. You did it all by yourself." Kirk sneered. "You want me to think that after all we've gone through, you simply miraculously come out on top while I get destroyed? That doesn't simply happen at one time." Rasheeda's attitude softened. "This isn't some plot people observed. The fact is that they recognized how poisonous things had gotten and made their decision. I'm not responsible for that. I'm simply gone, ahead and doing what I need to do for myself and our family." He shook his head, refusing to accept it. "You played me. You played everyone." Rasheeda got up and moved around the desk to face him. "I didn't play Kirk. I finally began living for me. I'm not going to be the lady that remains in a bad relationship. Circumstance simply to preserve your reputation. I deserve more, and our children deserve better. For the first time, Kirk noticed the anguish in her eyes, endured for years and the weight of his betrayals that the talent had put on their family. And for a minute the industry is bustling and the internet is still absorbing the information. But the main issue is what will happen next. Will Kirk find a way to redeem himself? Is this truly Rasheeda's new path will continue to flourish without him, demonstrating once and for all that she was always the main star when Kirk Frost and Rasheeda, the power couple of love and hip-hop, is officially done not just with the show but with each other. Fans are in disbelief, but it is far from over, and we'll be here to discuss every twist and turn as it unfolds. What do you think of Kirk and Rasheeda's surprise departure? Do you believe Kirk was sabotaged, or did he bring most importantly? Do you think Rasheeda will ever look back, or is she truly done for good? Please share your ideas in the comments section below. Subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss the next stunning update. Enable alerts, because trust me, the narrative is next. Chapter is about to begin. Stay tuned for even more Welder.